Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs from gundamreviews.net. And a new week means a new review of episode 21. I'm talking Gundam Age, the second generation, as Asum is going to have to come and recover from his defeat at Zehart's hand last week. And also, what would a Gundam show be without a few father issues thrown in? For my Of The section, I'm going to have to kick things off with Character of the Week, and that's got to go to Wolf Eniaco, who certainly is stepping out of the role that he played in the first generation, where yes, he was the cool older senpai to Flit, even though it took them about, one episode to get along. In this episode, we get to see really how he's developed and matured over time and become both a good leader and, of course, seems to still be a friend to everybody. One of my favorite moments of the episode was when everybody paid their respects to Vice Admiral. He wasn't a full admiral, I was sort of surprised. Flit when the whole ship arrived on the big ring, and we just got to see Wolf show up and just give him a smirk at the end because yes, I was your superior back in the day. But the most important thing being, it was how he dealt with Asum. And now Asum losing to Zehart, that's got to have a big role, and you could see it running over and over in his head. Also today he got some bad news in the fact that he's not going to be an X-Router, which is either a trick of the midichlorian count or whatever you want to do. At the end of the day, though, he got the good message from two people, both Madonna's son. Sort of cool that they're moving on their end. What is that? Madonna's wife didn't age a day? Even they only showed her from the waist up. But anyway, Wolf was able to take him out under his wing and show him that he can just be himself. And that's where we got to see, with the thanks of the machine, the Age 2 go to its limit. And we get to see Asum hopefully step out of his father's shadow. And we will get to see a different kind of protagonist. And I can't wait to see the dynamic between father and son and how it's going to develop from here. All thanks to this man, Wolf, who pulled him out of the dumps. And for Mobile Suit of the Week, who would ever have thought that it could be the core of a beat-up old Genoace? I wonder if it was Largans from back in G1 of the series. Anyway, if you saw the episode, you saw that basically the son of Madonna put together a simulator inside the chest of a Genoace that moves around, has feedback, this and that. And when Wolf said that he had to get out of his father's shadow and get over Zehart's defeat, what better way than to throw Asum up against the two of them, thanks to the technology that's in this. I thought the Age 2 did very well in the scenes where it was fighting, including the cold open where it had the old plastic dummy round gun that we got to see from the very beginning. I should pull that out from my Genoace. But once it was actually in the simulator, I'm not going to give it MS of the Week because we didn't see its full potential, plus it was simulated. But overall, we could see that Asum was learning how to move it, and even with the loss of an arm and a beam saber, still gave up a good fight up against the Age 1 and Zadora. And something that I hope is going to come into play over in the series is they had already mentioned that the Age 1 was going to be getting some upgrades or being moved somewhere, and I'm hoping that that wasn't just to get the data out of it for this kind of battle, whether DK was on board or not with that. Sounds like Wolf had his help, but we don't know if that applies specifically to the Age 1. I'm hoping that at some point this Age 1 is going to make a reappearance in some sort of form. The way Exia showed up at the end of 00 was fantastic. At some point, could we be seeing all three generation Gundam fighting together? Anyway, it wasn't at the end of the teaser or at the end of last week's episode. I thought we might actually see the Age 2 fight the Age 1, and the damage that it could either one could inflict upon each other, but this time the Age 1 is still there to be pulled out of the pocket when we need a climatic scene in the future. For Scene of the Week, I never would have thought that we'd see this, but it was a pretty character-driven episode with a lot of quiet moments, including with Madonna's son, when we got to see a few other interactions between the Divas crew and the Adels and the Genoace 2 pilot meeting, a Megan Echo and things like that. But probably since the battle at the end was simulated, there wasn't really a lot of tension, not like we've seen in the previous episodes. So the line that I liked the most of the whole thing was that when all of the Adel pilots or whatever that were in the advanced training were sitting there and talking about, oh, that stuck-up Asum kid. And in the end, Asum was just saying, what the hell am I doing and where do I actually go? With a very honorable mention to the launch of the massive Vegan Armada at the end of the episode, which is going to cause nothing but troubles for the Big Donut in the next episode. Overall, I thought this was a pretty positive episode, despite the fact that, again, the teaser last week sort of built up more in my mind than what we actually got to see in terms of the action. But that more than made up for it with the character-driven stuff. It was a slow episode, but it looks like next week is going to be all-out action, so I'm sure it's going to be quickly forgotten. But I think it was a good chance for us to see. I've been wanting to see more Flit in this episode. We didn't get to see that much, but we did get to see him lighten up when he saw Asum in person, including his consoling their message that seemed to repeat like it was on Windows Media Player when Asum was watching it. But overall, we got to see Asum get over the defeat and start to move into his own. And it's going to be sort of interesting to see if he ever does become an X-Rounder, or people that have watched a lot of my videos probably know about JoJo, and I'm a fan of that. It skips a generation sometimes, and what is that going to do? Just set up Kiara, the third generation protagonist, as being Super X-Rounder, and again, I'm very excited about the prospect of all three of them, or at least all three Gundams lining up at some point in some massive finale, with Cold Sleep helping us get there. But if Asim is going to set himself apart as a character and in terms of a son, I thought this episode did a great way to do that. So a quiet 22 minutes, setting up hopefully an action-filled one next time, with the H2 actually doing something that's not just simulated or with a paint gun. Anyway, everybody, why don't you let me know what you thought of this review and, of course, the episode itself. Always love to hear from you. The feedback is always fun to read down below. And see you again here next week. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. Blah blah, 70% increase in vertical thrust and blah blah, interlink coolers need some renovations. I think I'm in love. And I'm blue.